Did you know that in the United States there are two different kinds of government agencies that will issue a death certificate? One is a local state government, and the other is NASA. You heard me right. The National Aeronautics and Space Administration issues death certificates, and they've done it before. Let me explain. Back when the Challenger disaster happened and they finally recovered remains of the astronauts, because they didn't just like incinerate in the explosion, mind you, the crew cabin remained intact and then fell down and sunk beneath the water on the water off the coast of Cape Canaveral, and they actually recovered human remains. But there is a dispute between the local coroner and the local medical examiner and the military pathologist who had done the autopsies on a military base after they recovered the remains. And by Florida state law, the local medical examiner, coroner, whatever, had to be the one to sign the death certificate. But they didn't want to sign it because they weren't the ones who had done the autopsy. The autopsies had been done by a military pathologist, but they weren't allowed under Florida state law to sign a death certificate. So there was this dispute that was going on and on and on between the military pathologist and the local county coroner in that part of Florida. But these families of these dead astronauts needed death certificates for things like estate and inheritance and things like that. So they couldn't just keep waiting around for this back and forth. So eventually NASA just stepped in and issued death certificates for these astronauts. It's sort of legally dubious. Do they really have the authority to do it or not? Who knows? But these families were actually issued death certificates for these deceased astronauts, and they were issued by NASA. Now, there's no picture of them online. I was really curious what they would look like, but I imagine it would be like they probably did a boilerplate, of all the information about the astronaut and the death, but it wouldn't say, state of Florida, because it wasn't issued by the state of Florida. It was issued by NASA. So can you imagine a certificate of death that at the top says National Aeronautics and Space Administration? So NASA has actually issued death certificates, and they probably will issue death certificates again in the future, because I'm sure at some point some astronauts will die in space travel at some point. And now you know.